self-control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. You have made it. You've arrived. I've made it. I arrived. I started a little bit late, but not too bad. I think I did pretty well considering that, you know, time is a relative concept to me, and I'm usually as punctual as I can be. So hope you guys are doing great. Having a great day. Got wonderful things going on. I don't know. Just hoping for the best for all of us, because there's so much weird and wacky crap going on out there. It's unbelievable. Now, before I go any further, I just want to make this announcement to all of you out there. And this pertains mostly to the podcast. Unfortunately, today I received an email from somebody who was a listener and is very, very distraught and very upset. And they were complaining about an ad that was running. And they were like, I can't listen to you anymore. I can't do this, playing that kind of ad. And I'm not going to go into what kind of ad it was or whatever, but suffice it to say it was very politically motivated kind of ad. And I was just like, oh, no. So I wrote back to the person, and just as a notice to everybody, when it comes to the podcast, I have very little to no control over what ads the network puts on the podcast. It's so far over me. I have no part of it. I don't approve ads for use during our show, or I don't have the ability to disapprove ads. So it's like a network thing. There's an ad space, and the network fills it with whoever paid them money to fill it. So I wrote back and explained that to the gentleman, and he was very gracious and understanding. And, you know, I wish there was more that I could do in that regard, but there isn't. So I just wanted to put it out there that if you're a podcast listener and you've heard ads airing during our show that don't align with the way you think, I understand. First of all, I understand. It's a very supercharged atmosphere out there right now. People are very polarized, but just understand that if it's during a show that you listen to, whether it's our show or somebody else's show, chances are they have little or no control at all whatsoever about what is played in that spot. If you understand the world of advertising, basically companies sell space, which advertisers send money to fill parts of that space. And some places have a real strict criteria of the ads they will run, others don't. And I'm not saying either way for our network that we're on for podcasts, but I just want it known that it really reflects nothing on me, my own views, my opinions. It's just what somebody paid money to put in that spot. So I just wanted to put it out there as a blanket statement. I don't know that all of our podcast listeners tune in to the YouTube show, but I wanted to put it out there because, of course, it's hard. I'd love to keep every listener happy if that were ever possible, but it's not. It's just the way it is. So I just want to throw that out there first and foremost, right off the top today. The person was very gracious and understanding, and we had a dialogue. And good news is they're sticking around, which is always awesome. I hate to lose listeners, but it happens. We're going to lose listeners. We're going to gain listeners. It's just the nature of the beast. But I can only control those things I can control. So this is my putting it out there. I'm controlling everything that I can as well as I can do it. And there's some things that I can't. And nor do I want to. I don't want that kind of control. So just be understanding and be try to look at it from both ways. So anyway, hope you guys having a great day. Thanks for being here for the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. It's our Thursday night extravaganza going on right now. And you're just in time because I'm about to get started here. But let's see. During the show, of course, the phone lines will be open. You can always call in if you got something to share. You'd like to be a part of the discussion to share something paranormal of your very own, please feel free to call in 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So that's the numbers, and they are right up here above my head to on your left. I guess it's on your left side as you're looking at the screen. So they're right up there, right under the words Paranormal Portal. Very small font. Yes, Julie, I know I'll get it fixed someday. But anyway, hope you all are ready because it's time for bed. All right, are you ready? Are you ready? I think I'm ready. Got to wet the whistle. Put us to bed. It's time for bed, Bomber. Tuck in, get comfy, get cozy, grab a libation, turn down the lights, and relax to the paranormal musings of Brent Thomas and the Paranormal Portal. All right, I got some stories pulled up. Well, at least a story right now. This one's kind of a big one. Not horribly big, but it's got a lot of information. So it's going to take a little bit to get through it. At least it looks like it to me. But we'll see. I'm just all spitty right now. I got to keep swallowing. Trying to dry my mouth out. Sorry. I'm just a dork sometimes. That's what you come back for every day, though, right, folks? All right, let's get to this story. This one comes actually from Minnesota. And it has to do with family and friends visits. And I sure hope I haven't read it before, but I might have because it was already open on my computer. I'm like, oh, God, I hope I don't. But I'm just going to read it anyway because they say that repetition is the greatest key to memory. So this will make the show a little more memorable if you haven't heard it before. All right, let's see what it says. It says, here's another story I'd like to share. Apparently they've shared others, so. I have an aunt who has this weird belief. She does cleansing with chicken blood as well as lots of other rituals. I believe she calls it white magic. They wear these colorful beaded necklaces that you're not allowed to touch, and she also has all these saints and pictures surrounded by fruits and candy, small pumpkins and glasses of water, and lots of beautiful flowers. It's really hard to explain as I do not participate in these rituals. Here's what I wanted to share about this story. Last year, on December 6th of 2008, my cousin, her daughter, who also participated in these rituals, died of a heart attack. I did read this one. Never mind. Damn it. I can't reread it. It's just too long, and it's repetition. I should just know better. I should know better. I should just close everything at the end of every show. It's part of my fun, though, ladies and gentlemen. It's how I roll here on the Paranormal Portal. And it's actually very, very amateurish and rookie, but what the hell can I do? At least I'm honest. I'm wearing it all right on the surface. I don't try to cover it up. I wear all my faults right on the surface for you guys to enjoy. So, all my shortcomings and such. All right, this one's coming from Texas. If you want to hear that story, tune into Sunday night's Night Terrors. It was on that one on the very end. So let's go to this one. This is Texas. It has to do with a haunted life. Now, this one I know I haven't read before, so I wanted to share with you some experiences we were having at our home and actually have had for a number of years. I have to say I'm a little bit hesitant to talk about this for a lot of reasons, but lately we've seen an increase in activity, and I'm not sure why. We live in a normal suburban home built in the early 80s, I think. I do know that the previous owner of the house met an untimely end in a car accident with a drunk driver a few miles from the house. Thank you, Dean. Thank you for coming in and making this all worthwhile, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. And it says, I do know the previous owner of the house met an untimely end in a car accident with a drunk driver a few miles from the house. I also know the following occupant lived here many years, but is also now deceased. Not related to the house as far as I can tell. I moved into the house in May of 2007 and almost immediately began to experience a few small unexplainable things. My son is very sensitive, and he saw someone several times in the kitchen area. I personally heard someone talking unintelligibly when I was in the kitchen and when he was in the living room, but it sounded like a female voice. This was 2 years ago. Since then, the activity has been fairly sporadic, increasing from time to time, subsiding in others, and mostly we've experienced odd noises and voices and a repentant swooshing sound like material being moved around. Both my son and I have seen a woman in the kitchen laundry room area, the sound of the front door opening and closing at all hours of the day and night. But the door does not actually open. It just sounds like it does. My dogs also hear these things and look towards the apparent source of the noise. That's interesting. Even the animals are hearing the same auditory hallucination, because if they're not actually observing the door moving and such, then it's some form of hallucination or energy. Anyway, lately, in the last 6 months, the activity has increased. It seems primarily centered around my 21-year-old son and 15-year-old daughter. Items disappearing and reappearing, the swooshing noise, the sound of a car driving through the rain, except it is inside the house, and we haven't had any rain in over a year. Wow, that's a lot. That's pretty dry. Now, not only do we get the door opening sound, but we also get the phone is ringing. Okay, actually, the phone doesn't register a missed call, but the three of us have heard the phone ring. It stops before you get there, and my son has had his hair pulled so hard, it actually bruised his scalp. My youngest daughter, 12, has been awakened by someone tugging on her foot, and my dogs have days where they just go nuts. Very nervous barking at nothing all day and all night. Last night, around 4 a.m., my dog starts barking, a very agitated and angry bark. This went on for about 2 minutes, and as I got up to see what was going on, and I was putting on a robe, I heard the front door slam shut. I went to the door, and as I walked towards it, I heard the sound of someone vigorously sweeping. I couldn't tell if it was inside or just outside of the door. The door was locked, as it should have been, and I opened it, still heard the sweeping noise, but there was no explanation where it came from. I went outside onto the front step. The sweeping was either just inside or just outside the door, but in that area, and the door slammed shut on me. It wasn't locked, and I was able to go back inside, but as soon as the door shut, the sweeping sound stopped. I never made it back to sleep. Wow, I don't blame you. Okay, believe it or not, with the exception of the hair pulling and the foot tugging, I could probably actually live with all of this, except, well, here's where the story gets complicated. This is not the first house where we've had issues. When my son was 6 and my daughter was an infant, we lived in Germany. At the time, I was fairly agnostic towards the paranormal. I wasn't sure if I believed it or not, but after living there, I was convinced. I've never felt or seen or heard anything that strong in my life. There was a female and a male entity in that house that not only we saw and experienced, but people from outside of our family saw and heard the same things. We actually had some negative altercations with those entities, and we ended up moving out of the house because of it. Both of my older children experienced phenomena in that house. Now, this is what has provoked me to write this. My kids have not spoken with each other about their experiences, but the older two have both come to me within the last month and told me what they believe the ghost is not attached to the house, but attached to them personally, because they have experienced these issues at different houses. They also have both mentioned that they felt it was both a male and a female entity. I was talking about this to my mother, and she brought up some things that I didn't remember. When I was a child and a young adult, I experienced similar things. Items moving, lost and found items. An entity touched my mom, and inanimate objects moving. Yes, we could visually see them moving. And I was able as a child to look at it and say, stop that. And it would stop. I also know that my father was able to see spirits and that he and I were oddly linked by dreams and emotions, but then that's another story. Now, I don't want the world to know these things. I know people will say and think that we are a family of freaks. I'm pretty comfortable with other than worldly influences in my life, so I'm not asking for an exorcism or anything like that. I think I would just like to understand better. Actually, I just want to know if there is something that follows us around, or if we are just collectively sensitive to the things that are around everywhere in the world. I'm curious about the similarities in experiences between myself and my children and between different locations. Missing and reappearing items, sounds of water, female voice, etc. And why sometimes the experiences are strong and frequent, and at other times they're not so much. Are there things that we can do collectively as a family to investigate ourselves? What about psychics and mediums? Would it be helpful? How do I find one who specializes in this kind of thing? And how do I tell a hoax from the real thing? Wow, that's a pretty amazing story. Now, the hoax part, if it's happening to you and you're not doing it, it's probably real. So if you're not taking things from somebody else and hiding them, and nobody else is either, then it's probably real. If you didn't slam the door on yourself when you were outside, it's probably real. If you weren't sweeping and you hear sweeping, it's probably real. I don't know. That last question's a little weird. How do you tell the hoax from the real thing? If it's happening and you know it's not, you're not doing it, then it's probably real. This is speaking about the house they live in. So if they're not doing it to each other, then it must be real. It's tough because could it be that they're all sensitive? Sure. Yeah, it definitely could. It sounds like it follows the family line, which makes sense. A lot of people with psychic awareness being tuned up pretty good, that does seem to follow family lines. If you're a psychic and you have a child, chances are pretty good they're going to be psychic or sensitive as well. So that part doesn't surprise me. And it's really widely believed, and I believe it's true as well, that spirits can tell those people that are receptive to them. And I think that in some cases they want to talk. They want to share their experience. And in other cases, maybe they just want to be seen or heard. Maybe they just want to be acknowledged. What occurred to me, though, in the narrative of this story is, do they have something that they're bringing with them to all of these places that might be the focal point for all this activity? Is there some kind of object that has some serious attachments or potentially portal or vortex issues to it that could be causing a maelstrom of sorts in spiritual activity? I don't know. It's very possible. A lot of people believe, and we've covered this many times on the show, that there has to be a lot of history to a house for it to be haunted. But there's so many cases of brand new houses that are haunted, and people can be haunted too. These people just could be haunted. They could be the source of the attachment. There could be attached spirits to them. It's hard to say. I don't know. And as for how do you find psychics who would be helpful? I think psychics and mediums would be helpful, but the hard part with that is that everybody's psychic. Just ask them. And so I think that there are some truly amazingly gifted people and very good at what they do. And then I think there are a lot of people that may have the tendency, or may be possible for them to be psychic and sensitive, but are maybe not so dialed in. I've heard psychics give terrible advice. I've heard psychics give wonderful advice, and I guess you got to go with, if you're looking for someone to help you with this, try to find someone that at least has a track record, that has, people that can really speak to their gift and what they've helped. The beauty of this show is that one of the things that has happened just naturally, and I can't take any credit for this, but we have come in contact with several very gifted and talented people who have been available to help those people that have needed it. And it's something I take a great deal of pride in. And again, I can't take any credit for it. We just all kind of found each other, and it's really worked out well that people have been able to contact the show and say, look, I'm dealing with some stuff I can't handle. I need some help. Can you help me? And it feels really good to be able to say, yeah, you know what, I think I can. And to put them in touch with some of these people. And that to me is very powerful. And, but I guess there's a lot of people out there claiming gifts that may or may not have them. I think everybody is capable of having them, but I think there are also quite varying degrees of those abilities. And you need to be careful of that, because you don't want to entrust your family's situation to somebody that really doesn't know what they're doing, but they're trying to act like they do. One of the worst things that can happen, they talked about to investigate ourselves. I think once you start investigating yourself, and there's different opinions out there, and I can't say that I'm right or wrong. This is the way I feel, is that by investigating yourself, you're kind of green lighting the whole participation. I think there is something to do with permission. There is something to do with permission in a home for spirits to become more and more active. And one way is for you to engage them and try to solicit responses. That is almost like a permission of sorts, that you're granting a permission. And I think that can backfire. I think that a spirit's presence in a home becomes stronger or weaker depending upon the people that live there. If they are encouraging the activity, then they are giving permission and allowing it to happen. And certainly investigating requires spirits to display some of their spiritual ability. And when you're asking them, can you do this? Can you do this? Well, maybe they can. But they couldn't before, but now you're asking them to, so now they can. And they can do even more than that, and now they have more permission. And I think that may be a red flag area. I would be really careful about investigating yourself, especially if it's already a situation where there may be an attachment there already. And if you start investigating that, you are empowering that relationship and strengthening that. And so I would be very, very careful about investigating yourself. I know that not everybody believes in that, and I understand. And again, I will say I could be completely wrong. But in a situation like this, I think that it's probably better to be cautious and wrong than not cautious and right. and open the floodgates on a whole lot more. So I don't know. This is a weird situation. It's hard to understand how these things follow and follow and follow. But again, if they had an item that was the focal point for all of this activity, then yeah, maybe it could be coming through. They're moving this item along with them, and every place they live, there's activity again. Well, they may have that same item that they've been dragging all across the world, wherever they've lived. So I would definitely do an inventory of my belongings. But a very cool story. My heart goes out to them. I hope that they ended up okay. This, it's from 2009, this story, so it's quite old, but still interesting all the same. So this one is coming from Ohio, and this has to do with miscellaneous activities. So it says, I moved into the house that I live in 3 years ago. When we started doing some renovating, wah, wah, wah. You ever, just a side note, if you ever want to see if your house is haunted, start renovating. That's a great way to find out if you've got spiritual activity in your home or the potential for a spiritual haunting. That just kicks up activity like nobody's business. And I don't know, maybe it's the spirits like it just the way it is. Maybe it was their house and they don't like people screwing with it. And so you start you start tearing out walls and doing some things. And it really seems to wake up some activity. All right. So it says when we started doing renovating, we started noticing strange things going on that really could not be explained. A juice jug flew off the counter about 3 feet, but it didn't break open. When we filled in the hole to an old cellar entrance that was dilapidated, some other things started to happen. At night, when all was settled and calm, there would be the sound like someone was walking down the hallway towards the bedrooms where our children slept. I got up to look, but nothing would be there. One night, when I was getting ready for bed, I felt a presence that I couldn't shake, and I just shook it off as being tired. At one point, I felt what can only describe as a breeze of minor proportions, and it sent a little chill on my skin. I thought this was a little weird since I didn't have any air conditioning in my room. And as I lay down to go to sleep, things were calm. A little time later, I was awakened by a hard hit to my chest. I opened my eyes and there was a little boy with an evil look on his face. He had hit me with a thick broom handle and started laughing. When I attempted to give up and give him chase, he was gone. The next night I did the same thing. Got ready for bed, went to sleep, and shortly after, I felt my sheet get tight and the same little boy was straddling me, and I felt a sensation like I was being suffocated. He had a look in his eyes that made me a little uneasy. Since I had seen him the previous night, he was laughing at me with a sort of assuring smile that he was going to do me in. I was finally able to break free, and as I swung to hit him, little kid or not, my hands were hitting nothing. He's about 10 or 12 years old and is dressed in what looks like clothes from the late 50s or early 60s. I've just grown to accept him, but I need to know if I'm crazy or not. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? I don't know. Certainly every claim out there probably isn't real. I'd like to believe that many of them are, but maybe not. Maybe only a small fraction are. And there's a lot of people that are really, creating their own situations. I don't know. If it is real, that's really creepy. That's really creepy to think there's some creepy little boy that's stalking you in your sleep and trying to do you in. Ugh. That's horrible. I'd be saging the hell out of that one. That's just what I would do. All right. The next one's coming from California. This says, this is sleep paralysis. I do the eye roll. Like, sleep paralysis. It says, my name is Gabriel. I'm 17. And for the past few years, when I'm sleeping, I'll wake up and I can't breathe. I have to force myself to move, which is really hard. And it feels like something is pinning me down. Sometimes when I wake up like this, I see my clock and the time is 3:33 a.m. I'm not sure if it's the time that this happens to me all the time, but when I do see the clock, that is the time. The reason why I'm posting this is because last night I woke up to this again. The thing that was different was that I could hear a very raspy voice yelling, "Help me." And it felt like I was spinning, and the only thing I could see was a blurred image of my couch because I sleep in the living room floor. But I felt myself spinning. I think these hauntings started when I was 14 or 15. Not sure in the age, but I used to live in a 2-story house. And when my family moved, they stopped for a while, but then when I would be sleeping over at a friend's house, I would wake up feeling like someone was pinning me down. But it would last for a second or two. And it wasn't as long as it was when I lived in the old house. So yeah, they stopped. But last night, like I said before, it happened again in my new house. I just need someone to help me. I don't know if I don't know if people care or not, but I like hanging out with my friends playing guitar, and I'm not some crazy kid who hangs out in graveyards or anything. I listen to Iron Maiden, Metallica, RHCP, oldies, etc. I don't know. Let's see. Using it like a dating site. I like walks on the beach. No, that's too bad. Sleep paralysis is really, really freaky. Again, it is a spiritual attack. If it is indeed spiritually, I should say. I do believe there's a medical sleep paralysis. I do believe there's a spiritual sleep paralysis. And I think the line gets pretty blurry on which is which. But if it is spiritual, you can treat it spiritual and take care of it that way. You can protect yourself when you're sleeping. You don't have to just cringe your teeth and go to sleep and hope it doesn't happen tonight. There are measures you can take to protect your sleeping area, to sanctify it or bless it, say, prayers over it, whatever. You can make it safe to sleep so you don't have to be afraid. And I don't know, most people just kind of accept it. But then again, I don't know if most people really understand what it means to cleanse an area. I think a lot of people have the idea that you just buy a bundle of sage, you light one end, and it makes smoke, and you walk around saying, "Get out." And that's really only a small portion of what truly cleansing an environment is. It has to be powerful. It has to be spiritual. It has to be energetic and have the full conviction of your soul. It's like the sage smoke or sage and sweetgrass or cedar or whatever you're burning, frankincense, etc. There's dozens and dozens of things that you can burn that can have a cleansing effect. But the medium all by itself it has a certain power or effectiveness, but that is multiplied so much by the person doing it, or it's invalidated so much by the person doing it. Like if you really don't know if you want to have something stop, or you don't know if you want this activity to quit, and you walk around with burning sage, and you're like, get out, and you're not really sure, then it can invalidate that because you're still not pushing out. I think it's very much the sage, the medium that you're burning or using to cleanse the air is only it's like a carrier. I don't know how else to say it. It's like a glass, and the glass is just a glass until you put your whiskey in it or your drink in it, and then it becomes a cheer, a toast, or whatever. It becomes a beverage once you fill it with something. And that's the same thing in a very rudimentary way with these things. Like sage smoke in and of itself should knock down the energy, but it will just keep coming back and back and back. But if you imbue that with the power of your conviction, the power of your faith, the power of your religion, the power of your spirituality, then it becomes full and powerful and can really do some amazing things. So I think it's a whole show by itself, and one that I'm not really interested in doing. And the reason why is not because I don't want you guys to know this stuff. Of course, I want you to know this, but the point is that that's a kind of responsibility that I don't want to be a spiritual teacher or guide or whatever. I don't want that. I want this, the portal is a discussion. I'll talk about these things and I'll tell you my 2 cents about them, but it's up to you to look into it and to learn an effective way for you to do it, because I also think it's very individual. You have to examine your own spirituality, what's powerful to you, and utilize that in what you do. So again, I really firmly believe if you had a piece of cheese and you believed this was a holy chunk of cheese and you ran out and just knew in your heart that you could cast out demons with it, you could exorcise people with a piece of cheese because it's your faith that makes it powerful. So, I'll just leave that there. But that's my 2 cents about that stuff. Next, we're going to California, and this is apparitions, voices, and touches. You guys doing good out there? Are you doing good? I can't hear you. What? All right, let's go to California. Says this, what is this one? It's very short. Okay, so it says, this first starts on Tuesday, March 4th, 2009. I was standing in front of my sink in my bathroom, cleaning up some toothpaste I dropped, and as I bent down, I felt a weird and unfamiliar presence. Well, I decided to ignore it. I looked back at the mirror and saw my reflection, and then my reflection changed. And it grinned at me, and then the skin tone went pure white, and the eyes went pure black. I freaked out and jumped a little. A little? Are you kidding me? That's terrifying. Earlier that day, my mom had called me heartless and evil. Ooh. About 2 days later, on Friday, March 6th, 2009, I was talking to my mom about our plans of heading up to Big Bear for the weekend, and as I walked to her bed, I slipped and looked at the big mirror in her room, which is a good 4 feet, and I saw a pure black figure copy me, but it was pure black with white eyes, and then it says, then I was gone. Okay, so they must have bolted out of the room, I guess. On Sunday, March 8th, 2009, me and my family were on our way back from Big Bear, and we own a Suburban, and we can watch movies in it, and I was trying to figure out how to get the stupid machine to work, for it's never worked for me before this day. But this day, it was fairly easy. I started to flip through the white noise stations because where we were had no reception, and as I was changed the station, and out of nowhere, this voice of a woman yelled, "This is the era of the working man." And then the voice laughed maniacally, and we were all freaked out and turned the radio off and sat in silence until we left Big Bear. This is the era of the working man. Huh. If anyone knows if anything horrible happened in Big Bear, please tell me. Also, please help me figure out what they all possibly wanted. I have no idea. Anyone? I think people expect a lot from people's ability to effectively look into a situation that's based off of a few short paragraphs. There's so much that nobody can know. Why is this called? Oh, this is called Shadows 2. Oh, I see this same person had submitted one called Shadows. So, all right, this one's coming from Wisconsin. It says, many people think that shadow entity is a dark figure, but that's not exactly true. My other shadow story dealt with the dark shadow reaching out. A few months after the experiences I had in my other stories, my grandpa had just passed, and I couldn't believe what happened, but I tried to believe his spirit was with us. In my room, I used to sleep on the top bunk bed. I shouldn't have rubbed my eye. I used to sleep on the top bunk bed, and I would look out my doorway out to where I put my school bag, and one night I noticed a white figure that looked like it was trying to manifest itself. And every night I would see it for about a week or two. The strange thing is, I checked around to see what it could be, if it was a toy or a bag, but, oh my God. Oily skin, that's the downfall. Sorry, hold on a sec. It's like, I get like, it's like pepper spray in my eye, for God's sakes. Could be the onions I was cutting earlier. That might have done it. Maybe I had some onion oil on my hand or something. I got better. So it said, one night, I'm going to reread part of this just because I'm butchering this as I go here. One night I noticed a white figure that looked like it was trying to manifest itself. And every night I would see it for about a week or two. The strange thing is, I checked around to see what it could be. If it was a toy or a bag, but wouldn't go away. Another night, before I went to bed, I prayed to my grandpa who had just passed, and I saw the figure that night, but the next night, it was gone. There was no trace of it. The white figure was not the only shadow entity I ever saw. I saw ever since deep into my childhood, probably since I was 6 or 7. I have seen a dark mass hanging around my door frame. I've seen that figure even until now, but I don't see it as much anymore because I now shut my door at night. Good call. Recently on the weekend, I was in the kitchen making food, and it was late and dark out, but I kept seeing a quite large, not dark figure out of the corner of my eye. The first time I saw it, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me because I saw it in the hallway, walking either towards me or to the living room. I continued what I was doing with no alarm and again out of the corner of my eye, I saw the same shadow with the same form in the pantry, and I said to myself, whatever. And after that, I saw it right next to me and in the dining room. That's very strange. That's pretty much the whole experience. What is that? Pain be gone. If you rub your eyes, it'll go away. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's mostly gone now. It's just still wet. It's all right. I just got to remember to probably wash my face before the show so I get all the oily skin stuff gone. It gives me this nice complexion, but unfortunately, it does get a little messy in my eyes. But what do you do? All right, let's go to the next one. And this is from California again. It's a popular state tonight. So let's see what's going on in California. Hope you guys are doing good. Got 50 of you out there. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for stopping in and being a part of the show. It's good to see all the familiar names and faces coming back. With hair. What? I only see with hair at Paranormal Portal. I don't know what you mean there. Sorry, is that a little choppy? Pain be gone if you rub hair. Oh, rub hair in your eyes, it will go away. Rub hair in my eyes? Oh. I don't know. I'd have to pull my tail up to do that. Rub hair in my eyes? Okay. Maybe that'll help. We'll try that. Thank you. Maybe that absorbs the oil. Feels better. But is it just because I believe it will? I appreciate the tips. All right, so California says, I don't remember this experience, but my mom told me about it when I was old enough to understand. When I was 2 years old, my parents, myself, and my little sister, she was a newborn at the time, lived in a 2-story duplex. My parents bought a painting of the Stanislaus County Fair and hung it on the wall high enough so that I couldn't reach it. The next day, there were scratches in the painting. The TV would go on and off by itself, and things would disappear and then reappear in a different spot. The culmination of this haunting happened when my dad was at work. He worked nights, so it was just my mom, my baby sister, and I. My mom was sitting down watching television when I came and started to tug her off of the couch. I told her that I wanted to play with the puppy. We didn't have a puppy, and she asked me to show her where the puppy was. Well, I led her to the stairs and pointed up and told her that the man wanted me to go get his puppy, and then I could pet it. She asked me where the puppy was, and then I pointed to a vent that led to our basement. She told me that my eyes turned red when I told her these things. Needless to say, She grabbed my sister and me and hightailed it out of there. And we sat in the car at my dad's job until he got off of work. And we moved the next day. My mom told our neighbor, an elderly lady, what had happened, and this is what the woman had to say. Back when everything was still segregated, a black family lived where we currently lived. They were all burned alive in the house. Creepy. And that was my first spiritual encounter. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of fire code laws back in the day. That's just tragic. And I'll tell you what, I had an experience that was pretty bizarre. I used to own a historical home back in Minnesota, and it was built in 1894. And it was really amazingly well built. It was a Queen Anne style architecture, if that means anything to anyone out there. But I just love that house, but it just needed a lot of TLC, and it was much more than I was able to keep up with. So I did end up selling it. But in the period that I owned it, I kind of redid the bathroom and stuff, and redid some of the floors and things. But when I was redoing the bathroom, it had this I don't know, built-in tub. And those things are a pain. And I'd found an old, beautiful, antique clawfoot tub. It was awesome, and was ready to put that in, but I had to get the old one out. So got the old one out, got it pulled out, and in the walls of this home, I discovered what they used to use for insulation in those old houses. In the old houses, they used sawdust as insulation, which probably kept things toasty until it settles, because it'll settle over time. As sawdust gets old, it doesn't stay fluffy. It turns into just this powder, and it just packs itself in there. But I mean, it was just, the realization hit me. It's like, well, no wonder when these old houses get a fire, it's critical, because they're built like a freaking match, you know? It's sawdust. Are you serious? But yeah, I opened that, got the tub out, and all of a sudden from the walls, all this sawdust started pouring down. I'm like, oh my God. And then I look up the wall, and it's just totally empty all the way up with the flashlight. All that sawdust had settled down, and once I pulled that tub out, it just came down. And needless to say, I had a lot more work cut out for me than I anticipated. I thought I was going to pull out an old tub, put up some sheetrock, and mud it over and call it a day, but that's not what I got. What I got was sawdust and a hell of a lot of headaches. But it doesn't surprise me when these old homes burn, why they go up like a match, because they are a match. There was no like fire retardant stuff in there. It was all like fire promotional. It was crazy. This bomber says here they used old newspaper and horsehair. What the hell? Oh, no, Wonder Woman. We're not using Don's beard. What the hell? That will not be used to rub my eyes. There's, I love Don dearly, but I'm not going to borrow his beard to rub my eyes. I don't even think I can sleep tonight after that remark. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, newspaper was a big one too, huh? I think I've heard of that. When I told people about the sawdust, they were like, oh, yeah, we found newspaper in ours. It's like, wow, seriously. You should have soaked it with kerosene, called it a freaking day. Anyway, that was my education. All right, so, yeah, renovations suck here, she says. Yeah, I'll bet they do. I'm remodeling a Victoria house that was built in 1890, and it is balloon framed like that as well, but mostly newspapers in the walls. Wow, Justin. That's crazy. It's true, though. And I understand they really didn't have a lot of options back then. It's like, well, I guess if you got a mill full of sawdust, you sell that like insulation, you can make money on it. That's unbelievable. Wow. I found a lot of cool artifacts in the walls. Yeah, I was always looking at it. I heard stories of people digging up, like, from the Depression era. A lot of people in old houses, when they're renovating them, find, like, old stashes of cash that people stowed away during the Depression so that, they wouldn't get lost. Well, the banks were useless. So if you ever buy an old Amish house, just for the record, check everywhere in the door frames and everything. The Amish stash cash like crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I've heard stories of people finding stuff like that. I used to do counters and stuff. I worked for a company that did Corian countertops and solid surface countertops, and we would hear stories. People, when they tore out their old kitchens, they'd find these treasure boxes. I mean, literally, like treasure in the walls, money, coins, jewelry that was just stashed. And I think it's from that Depression era when people didn't believe in banks at all. They just, literally would stash the money wherever they were. Then a lot of it, got forgotten. So there's still treasure to be had out there. Well, that was a good story. Where are we at with the time? God, it's already almost time to go. Can you believe it? We'll read another one just because it's just something I love doing. This one's not too long. I'll read this one. This one's coming from Minnesota. Minnesota, my old stomping grounds. Minnesota. This has to do with haunted life, it says. So, it was strange, but I only passed it off as my own fault. But now that I think about it, even when asleep, there is no way I'd be able to do that. I was sitting in the basement, just hanging out, surfing on the web on my laptop, and I had music playing, but even though I was listening to music, it sounded really strange that I heard singing without my headphones on. I heard different types of voices, nearly trailing me around for a little while, and I got up to get some water, and I heard a young woman's voice saying something like, "Come one, you got to get ready to go now." As a come one, or I don't know if they meant come one as an O-N-E or come on. I even heard my name being said, but it didn't sound anything like my mom or anyone else that I even know. Well, I brushed it off as only being my imagination, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following me. Visiting a cemetery is basically my worst thing to do in the world. I can't go near tombstones or the grass. Stepping near anything beyond the concrete pathway sends shivers up my spine and causes my stomach to feel frozen over. I become choked up and I start to lose my vision. It's strange, and I've tried to get over it, but the more I try, the more I nearly pass out. Thinking of the ones that are in the cemetery grounds makes me want to crawl into a corner and cry for hours. It's not much of a ghostly experience, but it's still very strange. The one that was the craziest experience ever, I was sitting at my desk in school. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this black figure go running down the hallway. There was nothing but locked doors at the end, but whatever it was had disappeared. I looked over and saw the kid beside was looking in the same direction. A strange, shocked look on his face, and I asked him if he had seen something, and he said, "Yeah." Well, I didn't say anything about it and only asked what he had seen. What he described was exactly the same as what I had seen. I felt a little uneasy the rest of the day after that. The fact that he had seen it as well made me believe it had really been there, and that it wasn't just my imagination. I thought an entity might be residing in her home, but once she told me about her experiences in cemeteries, school, and what happened earlier today with that young girl, I'm starting to believe that she is more in tune with these things than others. That she has a sixth sense, if you want to call it that. We really need advice in figuring out what is going on, and we would appreciate any comments that anybody has for us. Could give us a bit of advice and what we can do. Sounds like you got to learn to take care of your gifts. Again, I think, the sensitive people will, when they're younger especially, it's overwhelming. It doesn't seem like spirits are very gentle about their presences to these people that have no trouble picking them up. I can't imagine, what these, little sensitive kids are experiencing and seeing and going through. Of course, everybody, I think, thinks of the movie The Sixth Sense, and I would have to say, maybe it is just like that. I can imagine all the horrors that these little children have seen and experience. As an adult, I don't know if I want to say jealous, but I do have an envy for that, because I think that it's incredible, the potential to see and experience these other lives that are still around us, but they're, for all intents and purposes, are invisible to us. Imagine what you could learn if you could talk to the ghosts, if you could speak to spirits. What could you learn? I don't know. I'll just leave that leave that sitting there. But anyway, I guess that's it, ladies and gentlemen. There's timestamps: 2:55, 4:56. What's going on? 11:11. Oh, people's time. Is it time? Is it time for me to be done? I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you all so much for being here and being a part of the journey tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night with the Friday 2-hour extravaganza. I'm going to have 2 hours of fun just waiting for you right here. So I hope you guys will join me then. Tell a friend. Bring your friends. It's Bring a Friend night on the portal tomorrow night. Always a good time to bring friends into the fray. But that's about all I got for you. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you again for being here and being a part of my journey. And therefore, I am a part of your journey as well. So we're all having a journey. But have a wonderful Friday, whatever you're doing. It's the end of the week. So celebrate. Have a great day. And I'll be waiting here for you at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on YouTube. So come on back. I'll be turning the lights on for you. All right, guys. Love you all. Be good. Be kind. Be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night right here on the show. Good night, everybody. And sweet dreams.